Today's news, Bang Si-hyuk talks about BTS and the possibility of joining the US market.
The CEO of Big Hit Entertainment, Bang Si-hyuk, went on the record and gave a lengthy interview, which was covered by Ocean Entertainment originally, about BTS's possible introduction into the US market.
It looks like the BTS will not be debuting in the US.
I wouldn't say not going to debut in the US, because it's possible that within a year or two, things could change drastically for BTS and possibly other K-pop groups. We're already seeing CL. We don't know the results of what CL is going to be able to accomplish, but there really is just so much to talk about here.
And I think that there's something to be said for the term debut. Like, I feel like it's overrated, this whole mentality of a debut. Because people get all psyched up and they make such a big deal about this debut thing, and then it just falls flat.
I wouldn't say falls flat, but we're still seeing K-pop develop in ways that they are figuring out themselves. Like the concept of having a big music video and a big comeback is really tiresome in lieu of actually making really, really good music that people want to listen to anyways and not necessarily having this absolutely humongous comeback. There are other ways to do it, and they're starting to figure that out. It's possible that they will come over and do more concerts, and they wouldn't be called a debut, but there'll still be way more exposure in the US and in Europe and South America and other places, Australia. I did see a comment from someone in Australia who's like, no one ever talks about Australia when you guys talk about US debut. Yeah, Australia is in there too. See, the thing about Australia is closer to South Korea. They can go down there anytime, and sometimes if they do. The Crayon Pop went down there, but do the big ones go down there?
Yes, they do.
Do they? The
I
Big
don't
Bang
know
go to
so
Australia?
much, but having talked to my friend Nicola, they do go down there.
Bang Si-hyuk, the CEO, did give a bunch of different interesting quotes. I want to read at least one of them right now. A K-pop artist succeeding in Korea and getting noticed by the mainstream US market because of a global scale of K-pop is completely different in every way from entering the US market and competing with the mainstream artists there. Do you really think that they would be competing? Is that really what artists do? Are they competing? I don't get the feeling, for instance, that we compete with other YouTubers, really. I mean, I don't ever see other YouTubers other than going online in the market that we cover, which is K-pop, Korean entertainment, that sort of thing. We're just sitting in our living room. There's nobody else here. There's no competition, really. It doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel like competition, but I'm sure that there is competition. And I know that there is competition, especially for music artists, because they have things like charts, because they are competing to get higher placement on different music listening websites and charts. And I already said charts, but things like that, you know, like the music programs that they have on Korean television. They compete against each other to get first place finishes.
There's always going to be competition, but if you think about competition, then there's competition. And if you're just focusing on the art form itself, the music making, the music performing, the live performances and concerts, there's not competition in that, especially if the artist is out there performing and enjoying it and the fans are enjoying it. So if you're thinking about Billboard and that sort of thing, yeah, sure, there's always going to be competition. Do people really not want to buy this particular artist's music, download it and pay for it that way because they only have money for this other one? Or if they really like, for instance, BTS in the US, are they going to download that too? I mean, that's really what you have to consider. And I think it's just really difficult, as we've said before, for K-pop groups and entertainment companies to get them over to the US, I use US, but over in the Western world more frequently because of their heavy commitments in Korea. This is something you and I have a lot of experience with, having been there. You see them all over the place there, and they're constantly advertising and sponsoring products and making money that way, and there just isn't enough time in the day to take a plane over to the US physically, for instance, at the same time when they need to show up for this shoot or this other sponsored thing that they're getting paid for. The entertainment companies are juggling so much, and now that BTS is really popular at the moment, how do you balance what's most important? Is it really most important to perform the music live, or is it more important to make money so they can make more music a year from now or 2 years from now by getting that money from the sponsors right now, next week, 2 weeks from now in Seoul? I mean, there's so much going on in Seoul if you haven't been there. And I know some of you who watch have been to Seoul and been to Korea and seen it yourselves. This dynamic is just so difficult in the balance.
Yes, they have a lot of commitments in Korea, and it's so much more in Korea than there would be for us here in the Western world. Like, looking at what you see on television, they have so much more idol placement within commercials than they do in our television here. Not that I usually watch a lot of American TV, but that's what it exists.
Take, for example, V, who's going to be in Hwarang. If some of the other members had opportunities to be in Korean dramas, they could not take those opportunities if they're performing live in, say, London. And this is the thing that they struggle with, trying to get everything perfect.
There's a lot of things that BTS does have it going for them, though they do write a lot of their own music and they do all work together. They are the K-pop group of the moment and they have a huge army that is supporting them. And so I just want to tell all of you guys to not get discouraged by this, because I know that that could be discouraging. Like, oh, I really want them to break into the international US market, but they're not going to. Oh my goodness, I should not support them. Do support them, because I think that this can still happen. In fact, he even kind of acknowledges later on in another quote that this could happen in a global scale if just enough fans support it and it happens organically that way.
I don't think fans are going to not support them because they find out that there won't be an immediate US debut. But the other thing is that they sort of already have broken into the Western market by now. And not just Western, but, you know, Thailand. That country loves K-pop. And it's really crazy how it needs to have a label. It must have a label. Like, they must debut in the US, or they haven't debuted in the US yet. Like, what's the difference as long as you get to hear their music? But we have the internet these days. I mean, K-pop can't even exist without YouTube.
Well, it's a traditional, more older way of thinking.
Hit the comments, you guys, like I know that you're going to. What's your reaction to? Do they need to debut, or should they debut, or should they label it debut, or is their exposure in the US already enough?
Yes! Do you like BTS? That's a stupid question.
Of course they like BTS. Do you like BTS? Comment! Click the like button, you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us. And don't forget to subscribe for more HallyuBack Back news and hashtag BTS t-shirts. Link in the description. That's it. We're out of here. Hasta luego!
Bye!